Hello, welcome to another episode of Umineko, Banquet of the Golden Witch. Hopefully, this is going to be the last episode in this arc. I'm gonna do my very best to actually finish this up today. No guarantees, but I'm gonna try. Also, no avatar today because my lighting situation is a little messed up because of, days getting longer, etc. And I'm still waiting on stuff to sort that out with. But soon. So for now, it's just the voice. My voice, not the, you know what I mean. Whoops, forgot to turn the audio on almost. But yes, let's start off with the content warning, as is tradition at this point. Content warning for child abuse, character deaths, detailed descriptions of gore and body horror, mentions of suicide, misogyny, and a light sprinkling of awkward skeeviness, although I don't foresee a lot of that happening this episode, because it's all been very dramatic. And it's all going to stay very dramatic. Now, last time, the family holed themselves up in the guest house, and then George decided to leave, which was not very smart of him. He was attacked by the witch, as in the witch Eva. And Beatrice tried to help him. She actually helped him try to revive Shannon and succeeded, and then they got attacked and killed again. Virgilia died in the process, most likely. She sacrificed herself for Beatrice. So that was upsetting. In the meantime, Kraus and Natsuhi also died. They were strangled and ended up in the Rose Garden. And there really aren't very many people who could have done this left. Because again, a lot of people died. Right now, the survivors essentially are looking for George. So they are on their way to the mansion. Tensions are high, everyone's very upset and worried. And what do witches in Australia ride? Boomerangs. I'll have to take your word for it since you said it in red paper. Also, that sure is a pun. Thank you. Alright, let's get going so that I can do as much of this as possible in one evening. We were able to meet up with Aunt Ava, who was having trouble with the lock to the front door. It seemed that all the blood had risen to Aunt Ava's head. That was probably making her fingers clumsy. It looked like she couldn't even handle the simple task of inserting the key into the lock. Then there was a faint sound. The sound of the door unlocking. Just as though it had waited for all the survivors to unite before opening. It felt to me as though the malicious mansion was trying to swallow up all the remaining humans at once. Wow, my mic picks up on everything, doesn't it? Ugh. Sorry about that. Perhaps the stench that erupted outwards the instant that the door opened couldn't be described as just a smell. It wasn't just the charred smell from grandfather. I think it also may have contained the regrets of the servants and Dad's group. All of the dead. What did it mean as it floated out, overwhelming us? Was it the cry of the dead, telling us not to enter? However, Aunt Ava didn't even flinch at something like that. And we, who had to chase after her, were forced to step into the mansion even after receiving that message. George! George! If you can hear me, answer! George! Aunt Ava shouted at the top of her lungs. Considering the situation, it's probably far too optimistic to imagine that he's alive. When we started following Aunt Ava's example and calling out George's name in loud voices, Aunt Ava spotted something and stopped walking. She was standing in front of the door to the parlor. What is this? Dr. Nanjo, could you come here for a second? What is it? I'd heard about the eerie magic circles written on doors, like the one at the parlor, from the adults. Eerie is the only word to describe that thing, which was scribbled with a deep red paint, reminiscent of blood, so that it slowly dripped down. However, that had supposedly been there since this morning. Wondering why Aunt Ava, who had supposedly seen it already, would think it odd now, Jessica and I stared at the door. Certainly, I have no memory of numbers such as these being written here. Right, they weren't. Eerie magical characters were written here, but not numbers. From what the two of them said, only the magic circle had been there this morning. However, right now, there are 8 digits written near the upper part of the magic circle. 07151129. I didn't know what it meant, but I didn't even want to imagine what someone had been thinking when they wrote it. It was drawn with the same paint as the magic circle, but it had clearly been written very recently. The way it had dried, and the condition of the color was completely different from the magic circle part. I'm sure it just has some magical meaning. No point wasting time thinking about it. Jessica intentionally spat those words out in an attempt to push aside the eerie feel it gave off. It could be a magic square. The idea that a ward against magic can reside in a certain sort of number play. I believe everyone has heard of the one where adding all of the numbers in each row leads to the same sum. Wasn't it a group of numbers buried in a rectangle? This is just a single row. I don't have a clue what it could mean. What Jessica-chan said is probably correct. There isn't any point in us wasting time thinking about it. Even though she said that, she probably suspected that it actually meant something. Aunt Ava was definitely writing that number down on an old receipt or something with a short ballpoint pen. Unless it had some obvious pattern, it'd probably be tough to memorize a code made up of an 8-digit number. Could this be a date or something? A date? What are you talking about? Well, it's probably a coincidence, but my birthday is July 15th. Once I thought that 0715 might refer to July 15, I figured that if 1129 stood for November 29th, maybe that'd fit perfectly. Why would your birthday be written in a place like this? And what's up with November 29th? That's what I want to know. Still, it's probably just a coincidence. When I thought about it, it started to feel a little creepy. What if someone's birthday was November 29th? That's not the birthday of anyone else in my family, not Dad or Kirie-san or Anje. And of course it isn't my mom's either. Nothing comes to mind. I don't believe it's Kinzo-san's or Genji-san's birthday. It isn't from my family either. And it isn't Rosa's or Maria-chan's. It can't be anyone in my family. And it isn't Kano-kun's or Shannon's. I always give the servants presents on their birthdays, so I know it for all of them. But I don't know anyone who was born on November 29th. Once we started imagining that the 8 digits weren't meaningless, but actually 2 dates written together, it really started to look that way. However, its true meaning may be something completely different, or there may be no meaning at all. Anyway, since we don't have any real clues, it's probably pointless to stand around here worrying about it. The inside of the parlor is much more important. This morning, behind each of the doors with a magic circle drawn on them, had been the body of a victim. So if something new has been added to this door, does that mean something new has been added inside the parlor? When Aunt Eva tried to open it, she felt the resistance of the lock. She immediately took out a master key and put it in the keyhole. As soon as she opened the door, Aunt Eva let out a high-pitched scream and ran inside. That alone was enough to tell us what had happened inside the room. Dr. Nanjo and I looked at each other, and I shook my head slightly as we entered the parlor. George! George! Hang in there! George! Dr. Nanjo, quickly! George Aniki lay there, crumpled alongside Shen-chan's corpse. His chest was stained bright red, and, judging by his still-opened eyes, I'd hate to say it to Aunt Eva, but I couldn't pick up any signs of life. After moving to take George's pulse, Dr. Nanjo shook his head, wordlessly reporting that George was dead. Brushing him aside, Aunt Eva once again crouched beside George Aniki and started crying at the top of her lungs. With Aniki's death, one thing is certain. The murders hadn't ended on the 8th twilight. The epitaph was being carried out in its complete form, including the 9th twilight, and none shall be left alive. I was really starting to lose track of things. For some reason, Aunt Eva's half-crazed cries actually made me cool down. Crestfallen and exhausted, I flopped onto the sofa and plunked my feet on top of the table. Maybe all these murders numbed my heart. Instead of just being frightened, I felt completely confused. Dad and Kirie-san are dead, and people have been killed off one by one, starting with the servants. And there's been a hell of a lot of them by now. I don't know when the first murder happened, but they might have been killed at a rate of about one person per hour by now. We believe that the boat will come for us around 9 tomorrow. There's still a full 12 hours until then. How many more sacrifices to the witch will there have to be for us to survive? With the 4 of us, if one goes each hour, we won't last any longer than 4 hours. We don't even know if we'll last until midnight tonight. Yesterday after lunch, we came into this parlor. Just as they started talking about serving some tea Aunt Rosa had bought, we kids decided to take a walk. Maria was jumping around, wasn't she? Didn't Shannon-chan bring us some cookies? She said Kumasawa-san had baked them or something. It would have been hilarious if she'd baked some mackerel into them, wouldn't it? That's right. I'll never hear Kumasawa-ba-chan's mackerel jokes again, will I? Alright, if I only remember stuff about Kumasawa-ba-chan, it wouldn't be fair to everyone else. Why did Dad and Kirie-san even go outside? It's not like going without food for a day would kill us. So why did gluttony get a hold of them and make them go out for food? I'll bet that fearless dad of mine just started complaining about being hungry. Kirie-san, you were supposed to be the brakes for my reckless dad. Why didn't you stop him? And what about your daughter, Anje? She's still just 6 years old. Don't tell me you plan to leave her in my care. After all, it's doubtful now whether even I'll be able to leave this island alive. Stop. Why are you fighting at a time like this? Jessica-san, stop. It's been kinda noisy for a while. By the time I looked up to see what it was, Jessica and Aunt Eva had suddenly started fighting each other. No, maybe I should say that Jessica was grabbing at Aunt Eva. Aunt Eva killed Dad and the rest. There's no other explanation. How foolish. Why should I know anything about what happened to your parents? Who was on the first floor of the guest house? Aunt Eva. Dad and Mom were in the first floor lobby along with her. And who was left alive? Only Aunt Eva. Why? It's obviously because you're the culprit. You killed Mom and Dad, carried him outside, and then shamelessly locked the door, trying to make it seem like it was the witch's doing. Then why do you think George disappeared? He never came down to the first floor. So did he disappear from the second floor? And who was on the second floor? You people were right. You knew, didn't you? You knew that George slipped out of the guest house, and you brazenly acted as if you didn't know anything. If you just stopped George, he'd be... I said stop. Jessica-san was in the cousin's room the whole time. And Eva-san was in the first floor lobby the whole time. Neither of you is responsible for anything. What we have here is simply the sadness of losing family members. The culprit is no one, nowhere. It is all just the witch's fault. Stop hating each other, you two. The witch's fault, huh? I wonder if that's a good way to cool the situation down right now. Yeah, I finally understand why 3 people evaporated from the guest house, when all the doors and windows were locked from the inside. This is what they were after. Making us think the culprit was inside and sparking this ugly, mutual hatred. Has to be the culprits, the witch's goal. But if that's the case, how did the culprit lock it from the outside? When Dad's group was attacked, their master key was definitely stolen. But the doors and windows to the guest house were built so that you couldn't lock them from the outside no matter how hard you tried. So that master key should have had nothing to do with the guest house closed room. Jessica and Aunt Ava were turning their sadness at losing their blood relatives into anger at the person in front of them. Dr. Nanjo was trying to step between them. And I sat in the sofa, staring up at the ceiling, thinking about things that didn't even matter anymore with a worn-out expression. I just couldn't believe that this was the same parlor that had been so warm and pleasant midday yesterday, for just a short time before the typhoon hit. Yeah. The sudden sound of a gunshot shook me out of my half-asleep trance. Smoke was rising out of the barrel of the gun Aunt Ava held. Jessica had fallen to the floor and was covering both her eyes. Aunt Ava and Dr. Nanjo were looking down at her in shock. Are you okay, Jessica-san? Jessica-san? It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Ugh. It wasn't my fault. This happened because you came at me even after I told you to stop. Hey, wait a sec, what's going on? So, did Jessica grab at Aunt Ava, which turned into a scuffle? Did they start fighting over Aunt Ava's gun? Did some kind of impact cause the trigger to be pulled? I didn't know if the bullet had grazed her or if she'd been burned by the discharge. But either way, Jessica was covering both of her eyes, screaming, it hurts, and rolling around on the floor. Don't worry, calm down. It is not a serious wound, so get a hold of yourself. My eyes, it hurts. I can't see. I can't see. Dr. Nanjo let Jessica borrow his shoulder, saying that he would tend to her in the servant room. The servant room in this mansion had a bed and a first aid kit and was able to function as an infirmary. Damn it! You killed Mom and Dad. I'll kill you. I'll kill you. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Jessica-san, you'll aggravate the wound, so don't move about. Come, let us go to the servant room. Jessica continued to curse Aunt Ava as her parents' murderer. It seemed that Aunt Ava couldn't conceal her trembling at the fact that she had pulled the trigger, even if it had been an accident. It wasn't my fault. It happened because that kid jumped at me. I didn't kill anyone. More importantly, who killed George? That's right, who killed George? George. It isn't my fault. It isn't my fault. Wait a sec, Aunt Ava. Don't go off on your own. I didn't know if it was because Aunt Ava couldn't bear her mistake, or if she'd given up control of her body to anger at the person who had killed her only son, or if it was both of those all mixed together. At any rate, she ran out into the corridor, yelling, fearful and screaming. I was also worried about Jessica's condition, but right then I couldn't leave Aunt Ava alone. Why would she go off on her own in this mansion of all places? Is she suicidal? Dr. Nanja took Jessica towards the servant room. I chased after Aunt Ava, dashing into the depths of the mansion. After sitting Jessica on the servant room bed, Nanjo told her several times not to touch her eyes and examine the affected area. Hey Num, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? The barrel had probably been near her eyes. There was a possibility that the flames from the discharge had injured her corneas. There was no threat to her life, but it would probably be necessary to take her to a doctor as soon as possible. Nanjo applied emergency first aid, covering the affected area with gauze and wrapping it with a bandage. As a result, Jessica completely lost her field of vision. Is that okay? The wound may hurt or itch, but you mustn't scratch at it or rub it. When tomorrow comes, let us go to an ophthalmologist. I've never had to say that out loud. As soon as possible. That bitch, she really was trying to kill me. If the angle had been just a little bit off, I'd have been killed by now. I'll definitely turn her into the police. Eva-san would not do such a thing. That was an accident. You call that an accident? She killed Dad and Mom. There's no way any 19th person or witch exists on this island. She's behind everything. She was the only one on the first floor of the guest house. George Nissan must have seen her kill Mom and Dad, and she killed him to keep quiet. It's the same with Grandfather and the servants. I'm sure she snuck out at the family conference last night and killed all of them. If that is indeed the case, then we'll find out about it as soon as the police investigate. The police are incredible, and with their powers of discernment, there's nothing that cannot be understood. There's no need for us to suspect or hate anyone. The police will resolve everything. So for now, Jessica-san, you should devote yourself to resting your body and keeping your eyes safe. Of course, if you wrinkle your forehead too much, it will do nothing good for your eyes, not to mention your beauty. Okay. When Jessica's abuse of Ava had reached a crescendo, she actually had started glaring instinctively, and the pressure on her eyes had hurt her. Jessica herself realized that the more she talked, the more the wound would hurt. And regardless of whether she'd overcome her suspicions of Ava, she'd regained her composure for the time being. She killed them. Dad and Mom, and Shannon, and Kanon-kun. She'd heard that Kanon had been killed in the chapel. Jessica still hadn't seen his face after he had died. Jessica was now less fearful about the fact that she was blinded, and more frightened that the police would carry Kanon's body away while she still couldn't see, and that she would have to say her final farewell without being able to look at his face. Her anger at the culprit, and her sadness at the death of the person she'd liked. Those mixed emotions started her crying. But right now, tears were actually painful for her, so she wasn't even permitted to leisurely remember his face in bygone days. Jessica could do nothing but sit on the bed and let her head droop, withstanding the pain. Well then, Now I am worried more about Eva-san. I hope she isn't too shaken by this. Realizing that Jessica had calmed down for the time being and letting out a sigh, he stuck his head out into the hallway to look for any sign of the others coming back. Then, their eyes met. Nanjo, unable to understand who this person was bewildered for an instant. I hear that people who have lost the power of sight have 0 anti-magic power and magic resistance power. In other words, you're an isolated pawn right now. Understand what that means? What did you say? Nanjo had no way of understanding who the person in front of him was, much less what she just said. Dr. Nanjo? What's going on? Unable to see, Jessica had to rely on voices alone to make out the situation. But since she heard Nanjo say something in an uneasy tone, she tightened up, thinking that something bad might have happened. Just stop, please. Please don't kill me. I have a sick grandchild. I mustn't die here. Please, spare me. Dr. Nanjo? Dr. Nanjo? Jessica couldn't do anything except call out from the bed. Judging by the tone of his voice, Nanjo was in the corridor, confronting someone. And he was scared. His life must have been threatened just a second ago. No, stop it! On the 9th twilight, the witch shall revive and none shall be left alive. Hehehehe. The witch pointed the end of her gold staff at Nanjo. Even though he didn't know what she was planning to do, Nanjo assumed that she must be trying to take his life. Dr. Nanjo! Dr. Nanjo! Is someone there? Answer me! Stop it! Bang. A sharp sound echoed. And just as sharply, the tip of the golden staff tapered and stretched, slicing into Nanjo's forehead. Jessica, who could only try to grasp what was happening with her ears, had no clue what was going on. But even so, she was able to realize that with that sound, Nanjo had died. And she could tell that that person was now in the corridor, right in front of the servant room. Furthermore, since she couldn't see, she wouldn't be able to run away, much less resist. Knowing that she was a mouse in a trap and in a life-or-death situation, Jessica shuddered. Oh, Jessica. Too bad, your eyes got injured. Now you can't even escape. Hehehe. I'm gonna play a whole lot with Nanjo's corpse now. When I get bored of that, I'll kill you next and play a bunch more. No, wait, if I've got you here blind already, I won't wait until you're dead. I'll have a lot of fun with you before I kill you too. So wait there shaking for a while, okay? I should try to imagine all the ways I'm playing with Nanjo's corpse. Jessica was struck with fear and let out a frail scream. She wanted to scream in a much louder voice, trying to get someone to help her, but she couldn't. When faced with true fear, it clogs up a person's throat. Right then, Jessica could barely even breathe. Help me. Help me. She searched around with her hands, trying to find some way to escape. But even though she would have known this room well, just being unable to see made it like a closed room of darkness. She ran into a shelf or something, and things like candy jars and bottles fell down, hitting her on the head. As she was now, it would have been tough for her to even guard her head to block it. She was painfully aware of how powerless humans become just by losing their sense of sight. Of course, she had no time to be impressed by this fact. She crawled around at random, trying to escape from that place. But she kept bumping into things that she didn't understand and getting hit by various falling objects. And it felt like the entire room was alive, bullying her and refusing to let her escape. Then, a footstep could be heard from that presence in the hallway. And then a voice. She probably poked her head into the room since Jessica had been so loud. You really are noisy. Act like a lady and wait there on the bed. 'Cause I'll give you a wonderful blood red death outfit, fitting for such an honored daughter. Something good enough to make the person who finds you faint, okay? Until just a second ago, she had sworn that she'd kill the culprit if she found them. However, she was now very powerless. She couldn't do anything except let out a scream, crawling around on the floor and bumping her head into the bed and the legs of desks. Help me, help me! Someone help me! Dad, Mom! Battler! Someone, come! Help me, Kano-kun! In the corridor, as the witch thought of how to toy with Nanjo's life, a single gold butterfly secretly watched that scene from the corner of the hallway. It was Beato, who had barely escaped with her life once before. The gold butterfly softly returned to human form. It was faint and transparent like a lace curtain. By now, her power was so weak that even maintaining this form was difficult for her. Right next to her, Ronove also appeared. It is unlikely that Jessica will survive. Of course, there were to be no survivors from the very beginning. She has grown feelings of love for Kanon. I have toyed with them at times. However, such behavior was shameful for a witch. Love is the single element. Romantic love is even more pure, more sacred. Though, for some reason, you seem to despise it thoroughly, milady. Teacher told me, magic exists to bring people happiness. That's something I myself must have been aware of in the past. Ever since I forgot that, I stopped being a witch. And so, I lost the right to be Battler's opponent. I can hardly believe it, my lady. Do you actually intend to rescue Jessica? It will be dangerous. I know. Even if I do save her, she will become a plaything of the witch's banquet when the door to the Golden Land opens. But even so, that death would be far more compassionate than what that person would do to her. The witch's banquet steals lives in a terrible way, but it does not do so more than once. It does not toy with life and death. However, that person is different. She kills over and over. She kills for fun. There's not even a trace of compassion there. I want to at least save Jessica from that kind of cruel fate. Certainly. By carrying that out, you would probably be praised as a good witch. However, the new Beatrice-sama already views you as hostile, milady. If you were to be seen by her again, you would not have any method of escape this time, correct? When I reunited George and Shannon, I finally understood what a witch is, and what magic is. I am a witch. I must act as a witch. And I must be acknowledged as Battler's opponent, and make Battler accept me as a witch this time around. The road to that goal may be long and difficult. However, if I do not take a step forward here and now, I won't be able to call myself a witch. I understand your feelings, but how do you plan to rescue her? There are not many forms of magic that your body is capable of now, milady. Did you not have to borrow George's power even back when you revived Shannon? Indeed. And for that very reason, I may be able to save Jessica. Right now, she's begging for Kanon to save her. If I can borrow the power of that emotion, my magic may be able to knock on the doors of the land of the dead once again. You may be able to knock. However, you would use up all of your magical energy. If you were to be spotted by the new Beatrice-sama, you would truly be without a method of escape. I am no longer your butler, milady. Understand that I cannot assist you if the situation worsens. I know. By now, I have toyed with and taken more lives than I can count. So, I may not be able to make up for it, except by saving the same number of lives, bringing them through that door. I have had nothing to lose in the first place. I am just a gold butterfly who has passed its name and magic power on, and who is no longer acknowledged as a witch. What about Butler-sama? You are partway through a game with him. He has said that he would wait until you returned. Are you truly satisfied to end it there? You have a duty to return to the seat across from Butler-sama, milady. For that very reason. If there's a life that only I can save, I will save it. And I will be accepted as a witch. I must become a witch. If this is training, it is a very childish thing, nothing that compares with the evils I've committed before now. Vanish, Ronove. Watch what may be the final magic of a single butterfly who used to be called a witch. Certainly. Please show me magic. That will not disgrace the name of the Golden Witch. And I pray that this is not your final spell. Go, my friend. If you can find enough ink, write down the story of my foolish life and hand it over to some fool who is about to walk down the same path. So long, Ronove. Kano-kun, where are you? Where are you? Help me. Help me. She really is very sweet. You know, underneath all the bluster. Milady, I am always there by your side. Kano-kun. Kano-kun. It seemed to Jessica as though she'd heard Kanon's voice just then. She looked around with unseeing eyes, but of course she saw nothing. On the contrary, that action caused her to hit the desk again. Kano-kun, Kano-kun. Help me, help me. Yes, milady. I will help you. Kano-kun. You survived? This time, she thought she heard his voice clearly. Jessica jumped up in surprise, banging her head against the desk once again. Milady, please calm your heart and listen. Unfortunately, I am not alive. Huh? I have already died. However, that witch came to tell me of your peril, and she gave me just a little bit of time, so that I could save you, milady. Please, calm your heart even more. If you do, my form will become visible even to you, milady. Jessica obeyed those words. She chased all idle thoughts from her head and relaxed her breathing. Of course, her heart felt like it was going to explode after hearing the voice of the one she'd liked and had thought was dead. She resisted the excitement with all her strength. When she did, she felt as though Kano-kun really was right in front of her. Even though she shouldn't have been able to see him with her eyes, she was able to sense him clearly. "Can you see me, milady?" "Yeah, I can see. I can definitely see you, Kano-kun. I exist only as a soul now, so I cannot touch you, milady. I cannot do anything except talk to you like this. With my current weak existence, I can do nothing more than that, but I should be able to be of some aid to you, milady. So, we can only talk? I can't touch you, Kano-kun. I am now more fragile than smoke from a candle. So much so that if one of the living such as you were to touch me, I would be wiped away instantly. So please, don't try to touch me. Because I am also holding back my desire to touch you, milady." Okay. More importantly, milady, please listen well. The new Golden Witch has a cruel heart. She surely plans to make you meet with a horrible fate. You must escape from this room and hide. How? I can't see anything. Quiet. I will be your eyes, milady. Please move in accordance with my instructions. First, please crawl 3 steps from here, then stand up. You're now under the desk, milady. If you stand there, you'll hit your head. I was under the desk? Okay. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna stand. Well done. Next, please turn to face towards 9 o'clock. Yes, well done. This is pretty embarrassing. Ow, ow, ow. Are you okay? Does your wound hurt? No, I'm fine. What next? Jessica thought that if this was a dream, she didn't want to wake up. And if she were allowed to, she would have wanted to take off the bandage covering her eyes and see him. However, if she did that, Kanon might vanish like frail candle smoke, just like he himself had said. She was afraid of that. So she satisfied herself with just listening to his words once more, repressing her desire to see him, to hold him. Therefore, what hurt her eyes now were tears of gratitude. Tears of gratitude for the god, or maybe the witch, who had given her this miraculous moment. Is this okay? If we keep talking like this, won't we be noticed by her? Won't our voices be heard? I have erected a secrecy barrier. As long as we don't make any loud sounds or speak noisily, no one will notice us. That's why people can't tell when I'm around. I don't really get it, but anyway, we'll be fine as long as we stay quiet, right? What should I do next? Please walk 10 steps in that direction. You'll touch the sofa. Please continue along that. Do it slowly. Stay calm. Believe in my words. Sure. It's weird. Even though it's so scary not being able to see, I'm not scared at all if you are with me, Kano-kun. Yes, that is the sofa. Trace it to the left while advancing slowly. There's a table just to your left. Be careful not to bump into it with your shins. It was a very, very strange and bizarre team effort. Even though she would have been killed in an instant if the terrible witch noticed her, there was no fear in Jessica's heart. She was being protected and guided by Kanon, someone she thought she'd never be reunited with. It would probably be just a momentary miracle. Even so, Jessica was deeply grateful for it. If she hoped for too much, she was sure that he would disappear, so she tried not to ruin this faint miracle. And, trying to engrave this moment into her heart for all eternity, she slowly continued to walk. obeying Kanon's voice. Okay, if you walk 10 more steps, you will exit the servant room. Then please turn to face 9 o'clock and keep walking very slowly. Put your hand on the wall to your right and keep on following that. I will take you to a safe room. If I go there, will you leave, Kanon-kun? Kanon didn't answer, but his lack of an answer was enough to tell her the truth. Then, no way. I don't want to go. If you stay here, you will be killed by the witch. I don't mind. If I'm killed, I can go to the world where you are, Kanon-kun. Milady, please listen to me. The human world is too bright and painful for the dead, like me, so I cannot stay for long. So, milady, please allow me to use what time I am allowed to guide you to a safe place. Because after that, I will stay with you until my time runs out. Is that the very best you can manage, Kanon-kun? Yes. In exchange, I will stay by your side as long as possible. I will stay with you and talk with you, milady. Talk about what? What do you want to talk about? I don't care what, as long as you are willing to tell me, Kanon-kun. Well then, I will tell you the story of a cowardly servant boy who lacked all courage. The story of a foolish and pitiful boy who fell in love with a young lady as radiant as the sun. Even when the lady confessed those same feelings to him, he lost to his cowardice and was never able to be honest with his feelings while he still lived. Yes, then I want to tell you a story too. It's the story of a cowardly girl who couldn't muster the courage to tell the boy she loved how she felt much more often. The story of how that girl, after being reunited with that boy by a miracle from God, used that chance to finally muster up her courage. I also want to hear that. So for that reason as well, let us go to a safe place. Yeah. If I could be with you, Kanon-kun, I would walk however far, however long it took. I don't need eyes anymore. If you tell me to step forward, I will take that step, even if it leads off a cliff. Thank you. Come, milady. Let us go. The first 10 steps. No, I don't like it. I won't do it unless you call me Jessica. Understood. Well then, Jessica, take the first 10 steps. Yes, Kanon-kun. Very quietly, Jessica and Kanon slowly snuck out of the servant room. Just around the corner, the witch could be seen cruelly looking down at Nanjo's corpse, but she didn't even notice their presence. However, the Ronobe, who stood at the ready by her side, met Kanon's eyes. Kanon thought, oh no, grimacing and blocking Jessica with his back. However, Ronobe did not inform his master. He played dumb, just as though he hadn't spotted Kanon in the first place. No, maybe he did appear to chuckle. From a finger on Ronobe's hands, which were joined behind his back, a single small gold butterfly appeared, flying in front of Kanon as though guiding him. It went unnoticed by the master he served. Kanon was surprised at the magic that butterfly held, because it was far more powerful than the secrecy barrier Kanon possessed. He may not have known it, but that power of his had originally been Ronobe's. Kanon's ability was an imitation of that, which Kinzo had made and given to him. As that butterfly of secrecy magic scattered gold scales It grew smaller bit by bit. It probably wouldn't last long. But without a doubt, even that would buy them enough time to get them far away from the cruel witch. Okay, milady. Let's follow that wall and keep walking. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. If I can be with you, Kanon-kun, keep on going. On and on. Led and protected by the small gold butterfly, the pair, separated by the wall of life and death, slowly walked away towards the end of the corridor. There was no way that the evil witch could have had magic to notice their flight. Until they disappeared at the other end of the corridor, the witch didn't realize that Jessica had vanished. By the time the gold butterfly Aronobe had sent evaporated completely, Jessica had reached the parlor. Even though it would have been a quick trip if she'd been able to see, as she was now, it had been a very long adventure. Come, milady. We've reached the parlor. I will now take you to the bundle of curtains by the window. If you hide in there, you'll surely be safe. Inside the curtains? Not bad. I used to hide in there a lot, long ago. Beatrice-sama. Huh? Kanon called out the witch's name. Jessica looked around in surprise, but she obviously couldn't spot the witch when she couldn't see. Beato had appeared once again with a faint form. Kanon squared off against the figure of the evil witch, but Beato's expression was soft, or even pitying. I don't know what sort of whim led you to revive me, nor do I understand what you're thinking now. Oh, it was nothing more than a whim. No, this is how witches should be. It took me 1,000 years to realize that. That is how foolish it is. Who is it? Who's there? Milady, be quiet. She's the witch, Beatrice. I owe her because she let me be with you one more time. The witch, Beatrice? Forget about me. More importantly, you should quickly hide that girl in the shadows of the curtains. You probably do not have much time left. You may spend it having a final conversation with Jessica. A secret meeting inside a bunch of curtains. How clever you two are. Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you for letting me be with Kanon-kun. Jessica didn't know where Beato was, so she said that while facing in the wrong direction. Perhaps because she found that funny, Beato snickered. I will now leave this room to the pair of lovers. Evil witches have no need for tales of love. Allow me to depart. Beatrice-sama. Thank you very much. There's no need to thank me. You know that something like this cannot compensate for all of the evil I have done. I offer my gratitude to this good witch as a parting gift. I don't know what has happened before, or what will happen later. However, at this very moment, you are without a doubt a good witch. You flatter me, Furniture. The next time we meet, I may be an evil witch who doesn't betray your expectations. And with that, farewell. Beato left the parlor and closed the door. And, mustering the last of her remaining magical power, she sealed the door. The fact that those two had escaped into here would eventually be noticed. And now that the 9th twilight had been reached, no matter how much they struggled, their inescapable fate had already been decided. However, until that final moment, they should be given the chance to speak with each other of their love. The witch poured out all of her magical power to protect their time together, so that no one would be able to defile their time alone until the last possible moment. At that time, Beato noticed something. Her body had been detected by a magical searching technique. The evil witch's furniture had sniffed this place out. So, boorishness is the witch's way of doing things after all. To think that she doesn't even intend to let those two young ones speak together of their love.
45. Data received. Checking target. Confirmed it's the predecessor, Lady Beatrice.
Lady Beatrice?
Analyzing parlor defensive wall. 72 multi-layered defensive wall. Attack-proof barrier and anti-magic armor. Sniping it to the parlor will be impossible. Data link to 410. 410. Data received. Then we just gotta kill predecessor Saba first, yeah. Great Lady Beatrice, your firing permission, please.
Go ahead and shoot. Oh, and avoid her vital areas. There's something I want to ask that old hag.
410, firing. Nihi.
The Chester sisters' gold bow released a gold snake. It crawled down the corridor starting from the front of the servant room, aiming for the parlor as it drew a soft, snake-like curved line trajectory. And pierced Beato's chest. Gold butterflies gathered, and the cruel witch appeared along with her furniture. Predecessor Sama, no further obstructions will be permitted. I didn't think they would be. Still, the Chester sisters really have gotten rusty. To think that they failed to bring me down. And twice at that. Ronova spoke in a manner befitting the witch's butler. As she pushed her pain aside, Beato grinned and spoke back.
My apologies, Predecessor Sama. We were ordered to avoid vital areas. As soon as we get the order, we can pierce you at any time. We can pierce a hole in your ears, a hole in your belly button. Any hole you like.
The gold snake that had pierced Beatrice grew even longer, drawing a funnel-shaped helix and awaiting its next order. It was prepared to pierce a vital spot as soon as the evil witch told it to. For what reason would someone like you, who is no less brutal than I, make them avoid my vital areas, new Beatrice? I wanted to ask you something. I don't know what kind of trick you used to escape, but we thought we took you out, right? Why is it that even though you could have escaped by hiding, you took the risk of appearing again? It can't be that you came back just to protect those two young people, right? Wow, who knows?
And just a second ago, why'd you do something as soft as reviving the lovers and reuniting them? The more I hear about you, the more I learn that I don't even reach up to your feet as an incarnation of evil. If you're like that, why did you suddenly start acting so mildly? That's what I wanted to ask.
I'm brutal, therefore I am fickle. What purpose could questioning that possibly serve?
Chester sisters, sew her.
When she ordered that, the gold snake that was curled in a helix and suspended in space moved as fast as a real snake going after its prey, and pierced Beato's body multiple times from both sides, its gold tail drawing an X shape. As the cruel witch had ordered, it drew a cross-stitch through Beato's chest. The gold thread made a squeaking sound and tormented Beato. Rather than a gold snake searching for its prey, it waited for orders like a sewing needle ready to sew Beato. If it's you we're talking about, there's no way it could have been a whim. Also, thank you for reminding me to save, babe. I will do that right now. Thank you, thank you.
I've heard about you, and I've learned. You're such an incarnation of evil that I don't even rise up to your feet. I thought I was truly a fitting successor to you. But you've always been in the way. You always say warm, pleasant things that shock me. What changed you? You explored the depths of evil for 1,000 years, and I let you live because I wanted to know what happened to make you change so much. Oh, UCG. If you really want to know, then I suggest you waste 1,000 years as well. So. Beato's chest was once again sewn with a golden cross-stitch. It tightened once again, squeezing fresh blood from Beato's chest. The intense pain it caused ran in conflict with its beauty to the eye. You might be one of those things that disappear when they die and don't leave a corpse, so I'll kill you slowly. But if you answer my questions honestly, I'll let you die easily. I'll give you a splendid, gorgeous death, perfect for my predecessor Sama. I'll sink you in a coffin filled with water and roses. Isn't that wonderful? And you still won't talk about the reason for your change of heart. Not answering when she's asked is another one of an evil witch's pleasures. So, twice. Of course you don't have to answer. After all, that way I get to torture you. The endless magic truly is wonderful. When you think about it, this world is limited in every way. The endless cannot exist in the human world. Because gods are without limits, the human world is deprived of all limitlessness so that they can be looked down upon. So in other words, this endless power is the power of the gods. A wonderful power where the more you play with it, the more fun ways of playing you find. You use that power as you please for 1,000 years and went on a rampage. Why are you having a change of heart only now? You aren't gonna say you regret handing it over to me, are you? How could I regret it? The endless magic you believe in is no magic at all. True magic lies in a deep abyss that you most certainly cannot reach. And this is what you realized? Then what is it? Wander about for 1,000 years without realizing, foolish witch. So, 3 times this time. Beato's chest had been embroidered with the gold thread. It tightened even more, causing Beato more and more pain. Well, that's fine. I'm no longer curious about what kind of revelations an old hag who refuses to die might have had. I'm bored now, so I'll just kill you. If I do, the barrier around the parlor will dissolve. Then I'll torture Kanon and Jessica to death a whole bunch of times. Being able to have 2 lovers as my toys at the same time sounds pretty fun, right? Kill her. Without missing by a millimeter, the gold sewing thread shot through Beato's heart. That intense pain was worse than all of the pain before that put together. Beato finally remembered the actual feeling of dying, which she had forgotten over the course of 1,000 years. But she couldn't die. She must not die. If she died, it would mean handing over the 2 in the parlor to the cruel witch. So she definitely couldn't die. She resolutely refused to die. New Beatrice, I have a request. The lovers' meeting between the 2 in the parlor will not last long. In the amount of time an hourglass can measure, Kanon will probably vanish into the land of the dead. Would you please allow them at least that much time? No way. Isn't tearing apart 2 who love each other fun? You said it yourself, so I want to try it.
In that case, I mustn't allow you that pleasure. Yes, it can be fun, tearing apart lovers.
Really? I'm sure it is fun.
So don't get in my way.
So more. So. 410, understood.
The merciless gold sewing needle sewed the gold thread through Beato's heart over and over again. However, no matter how much it tightened, that heart did not stop. This isn't nearly enough. I won't die by something like this.
What are you doing? Make this old hag shut up. Kill her quickly. We're killing her. Even though we've sewn her heart in place several times, this person's heart won't stop.
Are you immortal? Of course not. I've handed the endless over to you. My heart will not beat many more times. However, if by making it beat just once more, I can give the two in this room a bit more time, I'll continue that resistance for all eternity.
So, keep sewing until her heart stops moving. Why doesn't she die? It's impossible. Why isn't her heart stopping? Even though it's been sewn in place. Who cares? We'll make the heart explode from the inside, and How pitiful. You could have died cleanly if you hadn't resisted us.
As they said that, even though the gold needle and thread made round trips over and over again, Beato still didn't die. The cruel witch eventually grew pale at how bizarre that was. What in the world are you? You probably cannot understand. Even I didn't understand. And yet, somehow or another, it seems that this is true magic. In other words, I have now become it. I have become a true witch.
Firing explosion center and heart interior. Fuse preparations ready. Explode.
There was a terrible sound, and gold leaf was scattered around the area, along with a cloud of gold butterflies. Beato's chest had opened wide from the inside, and from that, gold butterflies and gold leaf poured out, staining the surrounding area gold. Then, Beato's flesh crumpled. Like a puppet whose strings had been cut, she crouched down and crumpled. However, a gold heart tied by gold threads floated in the air and continued to beat.
What the... Monster, eat...
When the Chester sisters saw that, they fell on their butts in shock. Somehow, even though Beato had become nothing more than a heart, it still kept beating, continuing to protect the barrier to the parlor. It was an immeasurably vast magical power, impossible to measure. In other words, endless.
I'm the Endless Witch, right? Why is this old hag still alive after all this? Chester sisters, smash that heart. Quickly. It's impossible. My apologies. We can't do it.
Indeed. It probably will be impossible. No number of people could crush that heart. And certainly not the soldiers who serve under His Highness the Dragon King.
In that case, an endless witch like me should be able to crush it, right? My power is that of a god.
I'm afraid to say that your power cannot leave a single wound on the endless of Beatrice-sama.
Just what do you mean by that?
Just as there can be no light without knowledge of shadows, there can be no infinite without knowledge of the finite. Before Milady Beatrice's true endless power, your frail magic is quite lacking.
What is that?
The cruel witch was surprised and stepped back. It was thinner than a lace curtain, but Beato's form, no, Beatrice's form was still standing there. Even after being laid bare so tragically like this, she refused to let evil through that door. At that time, a shadow just as thin as Beatrice stood behind her. It was Kanon.
Beatrice-sama, thank you very much. I won't forget what you've done for us.
I'll hear those words of yours once the number of my blessings has surpassed the number of grievances I have caused. Was that long enough?
Yes, truly, thank you very much. And Beatrice-sama, you have also done enough. Please, be at peace. Is that so? Is this enough? What's going on? Why are you guys calling that old hag Beatrice? Beatrice is my name, right? It's got to be, since I'm the new golden witch and endless witch, right? How rude. How dare you claim Beatrice-sama's name?
I'm afraid to say that the name of Beatrice-sama belongs to the one crowned as the endless witch. Right now, you are the predecessor.
What did you say?
Farewell, Kanon.
I'm sure I'll see you soon enough.
In a new nightmare.
In the nightmare of a new night, I will once again be your companion, Beatrice-sama. With that, if you would excuse me.
Kanon's form grew faint, and he disappeared into thin air. After watching him go, Beatrice's form also grew faint, and before disappearing, it slumped over onto the floor. Then there was a splat. The golden heart that had been floating in midair lost its sparkle, became blood-stained flesh, and fell to the ground. How frail it was. It was ragged and full of holes. But until a moment ago, it had sparkled so much. It continued to beat so forcefully. That heart still just barely managed to beat. However, it was only a matter of time before it stopped. Beatrice, whose form had become fragile and faint like incense smoke, lay on the floor, steadily watching her own heart. There, the cruel witch could be seen.
What do you mean, endless? Aren't you actually collapsed in a heap right there? How can there be How could there be a finite infinity? That's a contradiction. It couldn't exist. This is the limit of your magic. The endless is better than a finite.
Beatrice no longer even had the will to respond. No, on the contrary, it was doubtful that the words of the cruel witch even reached her ears.
If you're a real endless witch, try standing up. How's it going? You can't stand, can you? Why do you think you can't stand? It's because you aren't the endless witch.
The cruel witch poked Beatrice's heart with her fingernail. Beatrice had no words with which to respond to that provocation. However, instead of words, she returned a single expression. It felt humiliating only to the cruel witch. Because she had gently curved her mouth and smiled. Footsteps were approaching that place. There was no way she had misheard it. That rough squeaking of heels was the sound of Battler's footsteps. Battler, is it? After talking so tough, I ended up like this. I've been trying to become the true witch you talked about. In my own way. Yeah, I was watching. Hey, have I been able to become a witch? Have I earned the right to become your opponent? It's useless. Battler said it unbelievably bluntly. As Beatrice breathed painfully, she saw this and sneered at herself, as though she should have expected it. I see. Yes, the road to becoming a true witch will be much, much longer than this. However, I will not surrender. Just like you never surrendered to my torture. I will definitely become a true witch, and be accepted as your opponent. Yeah, it's useless. It's all useless. You aren't my opponent. The cruel witch raised her foot high. Below it was Beatrice's frail heart.
Die, you old hag. Let's see how endless you are when you've been crushed to a pulp. I'm the witch. I am the golden witch, Beatrice. Die. It's useless, it's all useless.
What? What is this? Where is this? Get in your seat. Beato isn't my opponent. You are. Battler? What kind of magic is this?
Who cares? It doesn't matter.
She sisters.
45. Understood. Attacking everywhere. 410. Understood. Die, Battler.
The Chiester sisters each readied their own golden bows and fired golden arrows. The two only pulled the bowstring together when using precision guidance. If they were fighting against an enemy before their eyes, they fired their bows at the same time. And their might did not suffer in the slightest.
What? It was deflected? There's no parrier. It was deflected by resistance alone. 45. Targeted analysis.
45. Understood. What? Did I break down? Am I insane? Anti-magic resistance power. Endless 9. Even mythical class magical attacks won't be effective against the target. Golden bow warheads could penetrate any magical armor through reciprocal corrosion. When one tried to block them with anti-magic resistance power, even 8 digits were not sufficient to prevent their penetration. By the way, Even famous gods that appear in myths rarely reach as high as 9 digits. For that reason, 9 digits were enough to measure pretty much all sensible values. Battler had buried all 9 of those digits with 9s. How foolish. When Battler-sama gets serious, magical arrows and the like aren't enough to even make his hair tremble. The Jester sisters dropped their golden bows in shock. To Battler himself, it was as though a pair of dragonflies had flown past his shoulder. What are you doing? Is that some kind of game?
Monster.
Stay back, small fries. Get in your seat, fake witch. I'll tear off that mask of yours. The Jester sisters couldn't hide their fear at Battler's ferocity, and they backed up as though they'd been struck. Beatrice watched the scene in shock. Battler, what is this supposed to be? Just like you see, you aren't my opponent. She is. That imposter over there who's using your name. Fighting against a witch. I face off against an opponent who claims to be a witch, and I deny witches by defeating them. I've seen more than enough of your arrogance. Then, Battler's eyes grew as sharp as blades as he stared down the cruel witch. What are you calling magic? What are you calling witches? You're no witch. I'll rip that mask off and tear it to shreds. Virgilia, get ready to fight. Understood. Preparations are complete, so go wherever you're ready. Whenever you're ready. Beatrice, stay back and rest. Indeed. Beato looked at Battler timidly. She still hadn't been acknowledged as his opponent. Was she qualified to watch the game board from the sidelines? Beato, stay back and watch. I'll tear it off. I'll thoroughly dismantle this fake witch. I won't let someone like this call themselves a witch. You protected the honor of true witches. You don't need to say anything. On your behalf, I'll teach her that the name of the Golden Witch definitely isn't that cheap. Battler. Those are the general rules. Thank you, Runabe. I get most of the rules now. I see. You can't win with magic, so you came to face off with me in a world where victory is decided by something other than magic. Foolish people. Do you really think you can win against me with twisted logic? Yeah, I do. I'll crush all of your twisted logic, Aunt Ava. I'm not Ava. That is the name of the old shell I shed. I am a true witch, born inside of her. Don't try to trick me. Your true form isn't a witch or anything like it, but a flesh and blood human. The human culprit, Ushiromiya Eva. Virgilia, reconstruct the second twilight. Okay, this is where I'm gonna take a break. So I can, get some water, and, do all the break stuff. And get ready for some detective work. Let's go. BRB. Alright, welcome back. Let's just dive right in. I hope the audio levels are good. Some of the songs in this episode are up there in volume. But everything's looking okay on my end, so yeah, here we go. Understood. On the second twilight, Rose and Maria were killed in the Rose Garden. We begin by applying the Ava culprit theory for that case.
Huh? Ridiculous. Come, arise, try to remember. What form did Ushiromiya Hideyoshi have?
What? What's this supposed to be? It's a summoning of the dead. A witch can easily bring even the dead up to the stand for testimony. On the opposing side, the transparent Uncle Hideyoshi was summoned. Talk about convenient. He looked as though he couldn't see what was going on here, almost like a person on the other side of the TV.
Witness summons. Ushiromiya Hideyoshi's testimony. Come, Hideyoshi, speak.
I was taking care of Eva in our room the whole time. Of course, Eva didn't leave the room. Not Eva. Around here, testimony that isn't read isn't worth crap. I demand that he repeats it again in red.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sure, say it in red.
I was in the room the whole time, both before and after the time of the crime.
See? Look. This makes it impossible for Eva to be the culprit, right? How will you counter this?
Ridiculous. That move was so lame I could yawn. Beato never used such childish tricks, not even once. Battler. Repeat it. Aunt Eva was also in the room for the entire time before and after the crime. Uncle Hideyoshi was just there to create an alibi. You made him stay in the room and stealthily snuck out. If that isn't true, this guy should be able to say so in red.
I refuse to repeat it. Hideyoshi's evidence is sufficient. There's no need for me to repeat that, right?
She has refused. You need show no mercy. This is check. Yeah, I'll take it. This opponent's slow. Check. Maybe Uncle Hideyoshi didn't leave the room the whole time, but saying he was taking care of you the whole time is a bright red lie. Therefore, no alibi exists for you. You had a chance to slip out of the room and kill Aunt Rosa and Maria. If you think you can dodge that, try proclaiming in red that Aunt Eva did take a step outside of her room. You can't, right? Checkmate.
What the hell? I don't get it.
Sorry, Aunt Eva. Even if you aren't used to the rules, beating your opponent down with all your strength is how this game is played. Right, Beato?
Indeed.
The witch side resigns. Let us continue on to the next game. Next is the 4th through 6th Twilights. It seemed that the witch still didn't understand how to make a winning move, and she lost her composure in irritation. She was probably also angry that a shot had been taken at her while she still didn't get what was going on. However, I won't go easy on her at all. Just like she didn't go easy on the victims at all, I won't go easy on her. Virgilia, next crime. Let's reconstruct the case with Dad and the rest.
Understood. 3 people, Rudolph, Kiryu, and Hideyoshi, went to the mansion and were killed there.
My move won't change. Aunt Eva, you are the culprit. This time, you didn't even have an alibi from Uncle Hideyoshi. You claimed that you were sleeping in that room all by yourself, but that's not true. If you can proclaim it in red, just try it.
I refuse. So tell me, Eva is just a woman, and the people who died were 3 adults with 2 guns, right? How did she kill them all by herself? How did she do it with those stakes as weapons? Like everyone keeps asking, how is this stake shooting device constructed? Explain that. Unless you can explain it, even if Eva doesn't have an alibi, that doesn't mean it was possible for her to commit the murders.
I refuse to explain. It's a devil's proof. Just because I can't explain it, that doesn't deny the existence of an unknown murder technique or maybe an unknown weapon. In short, even if I can't explain how the stake shooting device is constructed, that doesn't prove that it doesn't exist.
What the hell? Does that ridiculousness even count?
Your devil's proof is valid.
Agreed. It's a valid devil's proof. Battlecurtain can claim that a stake shooting device exists without bearing the responsibility of explaining how it is constructed. The witch side cannot object to this move.
Not bad. How pushy. Well, there's this ill-natured witch who trained me well. This is check, okay? Try saying in red that Aunt Eva didn't take a step out of that room. That's right, you shouldn't be able to say it. If you can't say it, it's over. Checkmate.
That's so irrational. This is messed up.
Those are the rules of this game. How about some black tea first? And some delicious cookies as well.
I don't need all that. That pisses me off. So you fight like a coward just because you can't win with magic.
Don't get irritated. Drink some black tea or something. I'll take mine straight. What about you, Beato?
I'm fine.
More importantly, Peddler, don't let your guard down. Your opponent is only unfamiliar with the rules. This will only really start once your opponent gets the gist of it. But I'll crush her. I'll thoroughly crush her. Because she isn't a witch. If I accept her as a witch, all your stubbornness will count for nothing. I don't care what kind of irrational argument or twisted logic I have to use. I'll crush her with all my heart and soul. Battler's side then stuck with the Eva culprit theory to explain Krause and Natsuhi, the 7th and 8th Twilights, in the exact same way. At the time, there had been no one on the first floor except for Eva and the victims. As before, no one could establish an alibi for Eva. Back then, Eva had claimed that they'd disappeared while she went to the bathroom. But there was nothing to support that, and the witch side couldn't repeat it in red either. Using the same style of argument as that question regarding the stake shooting machine, the witch side asked once more how Eva could have strangled both of them at the same time, all by herself. But of course, Battler splendidly counter-attacked by refusing to explain because of the devil's proof. Under the storm and stress of Battler's spirit, the witch side was completely swallowed up, having to resign 3 times during the short period of time she had to grasp the rules.
I see. I'm finally starting to get the knack of it. I won't let you have things your way anymore. This time, let me take the initiative. Nonobe, reconstruct the 4th through the 6th Twilights. Pick out Ushiromiya Kirie. For now, let me return to the murders of Rudolph, Kirie, and Hideyoshi during the 4th through 6th Twilights.
What is she thinking? Why would she return once more to a situation where she's lost?
I see. This is an unusual attack, and one you do not use. Be careful. At the time, the survivors were barricaded in the guest house. They didn't have food, but out of concern for their safety, they were at least prepared to go without eating until the next day. However, in the end, 3 of them went out for food.
That's right. In the end, 3 people went outside to get food.
It's a pain, so I'll add in some red and say it. Kirie didn't think that they needed food. Since going without food for about a day wouldn't kill them, she claimed that they should not leave the guest house. And yet, she herself suggested that they leave the guest house to get food. Isn't that a contradiction?
Yes, a spectacular contradiction. A contradiction exists in Kiria's pattern of behavior.
That contradiction was created by me with magic. In other words, I controlled Kiria using magic and made her say that to lure the sacrifices outside.
Ridiculous. There's no way that kind of magic exists.
It's the devil's proof, right? Just because you don't know about that magic doesn't deny its existence. And I don't bear the responsibility of acting out that magic for you. And yet, you have even less room to counter this argument. I wonder if it's okay to fight this way.
Yes, it is truly a spectacular move. Battler-sama, your response, if you please. That's a weird strategy she's taking. So just what is this?
She has placed a piece attacking Ushirome Kiria's pattern of behavior. As has already been explained, Kiria's pattern of behavior had her saying that they should not go outside or head to the mansion in order to get food. And yet, she herself took the initiative, taking the contradictory action of going out to get food. Unless she can explain this contradiction, she will use this violent move to claim that magic was the cause.
Well, that's probably what Kiria-san thought in the beginning. But she probably thought through a few things midway and changed her mind and decided that food really was necessary. It'd be bad if, when things got tough, we were so hungry that we had no energy, and, well...
She is claiming that this change of heart was due to magic. In short, while it might be extremely difficult, you must explain the reason for Kiria's change of heart.
What are you saying? You're talking about the inside of Kiria-san's head, right? Can I also summon Kiria-san's ghost and question her? Beato, can't you go Kiria-san here or something?
She cannot. That is a move permitted only to the witch side. Sorry.
Fuck. She was probably thinking of us kids and on the whole thought that food was necessary and...
You must present your claim through objective means. You'll need concrete proof that Kiria changed her mind and decided that food really was necessary for some specific reason. For example, if someone heard her say that, or if it was written down somewhere. Too bad. The reason she changed her mind was not passed on to anyone, nor was it written down. Therefore, you can only speculate as to what was inside Kiria's mind. So it's impossible to explain. You don't have a single counter to my move. Isn't it your turn to resign now, Battly-kun? It is possible to hypothesize endlessly as to the reason behind her change of heart. And it is impossible to crush all of those endless possibilities.
A detestably spectacular move. If Battler-sama were to have a method of countering, it could probably only be that move.
What move is that?
Well, I wonder what kind of move it could be. I have the feeling that it was Milady's specialty, but I cannot remember.
Quit being stingy and tell me. Beatrice, no answers will be given to those who stop thinking for themselves. Think. Think in your own way. Why don't you resign right now? And I'll corner you even more with red. Until the last instant before she died, Kiria's behavior pattern of not going to get food equals not going to the mansion was maintained. And yet, she took the initiative and headed towards the mansion. She was pushing a cart, ready to carry food. Why that contradiction? Because I control her with magic. This is proof that my magic exists and that I am a witch.
Shut the hell up.
Are you saying that she never even changed her mind? That the whole time until she died, Kiria-san thought we don't need food and we don't go to the mansion? Then why did she step forward herself and say that they should go to get food and go to the mansion?
Are you saying that Kiria-san was being controlled with magic? That's stupid. How should I break through this magic? If only Kitty were here. She just told us the reason behind her change of heart. Now I've already been told and read that she never even changed her mind. What should I do? There's no move that the human side can counter with.
The more I learn about this game, the more advantageous the rules seem for the witch, right? Even if I lose in a lot of areas, if I can win in just one, that alone can display the existence of a witch. In other words, Battlecroon has no way of denying witches other than a complete victory. How truly funny that even though you thought you could corner me and call me Eva, it's all been spun around by nothing more than the inside of your respected Kiria-san's head, right? Just do it. Resign. If only you just accept it. If only you just lose.
Damn it. It's impossible for a human to prove. I can't do anything but guess at what the dead were thinking when they acted. Furthermore, I can't deny the magic based on conjecture alone. To break through it, I'd need objective proof as to why Kiria-san had a change of heart. But damn it, it's been said and read that no proof exists as to why she changed her mind and wanted food. What should I do? Damn it. Butler-sama, is this your resignation? Not going to get food equals not going to the mansion. But then how should I understand Kiria-san's thoughts, which actually do contradict each other?
You can't understand. It's impossible to understand and impossible to interpret. That darkness is all of the witch. Come on, it's useless to think, so quit, okay? You just can't deny witches. After all, I exist right here. I am the Golden Witch. I stole that name from the former witch over there. You can't deny that I am Beatrice.
Damn it. You have no right to use that name. And yet, I can't think of a move to deny it. Battler could no longer counter this witch, who was laughing insanely in triumph. He didn't want to give up, but no move appeared. He ground his teeth, making fists with both hands. But even so, he couldn't think of a brilliant counterattack. Butler-sama, your time limit is over, so will you resign? The human side has no move in response. It moves. Wait. There is a counter. What did you say?
Huh? What kind of move could possibly exist, Predecessor-sama? Won't you tell me what kind of move could deny this magic of Beatrice's? You can't, it's impossible.
If the proposition that not going to get food equals not going to the mansion cannot be explained by itself, I will explain it with a contrapositive. In short, you can also explain it with she still went to the mansion means that she had a goal other than food. This is less my specialty, Hempel's Raven, than it is Battler's specialty, chessboard thinking. If it was impossible for Kiria to have gone to the mansion with food as a goal, then we can only explain it by saying she had another reason that got her to go outside despite that. In other words, if we can prove that she had such a goal, we can defeat this magic. I see. So she didn't go to the mansion with food as a goal, but she had a different goal. And she said she wanted to go and get food in order to disguise her real goal. True enough, it might be possible to find an explanation that way. But how? Teacher, reconstruct the scene of Kitty's death. We cannot summon a ghost, but inspecting the corpse ought to be a right allowed to the human side. Yes, there is no problem. I shall reconstruct the scene where Ushiramiya Kiria died. We cannot call Kiria's ghost here, But by finding out what Kitty had left behind, we may be able to use that as a weapon. I'm also going to save real quick. Fine, search as much as you want. There's no way you'll learn anything. I just said it in red a short while ago. Kiria did not leave anything written down. No matter what you find, how could you possibly figure anything out? We may find nothing, but Battler's grinding his teeth, fighting to think of a move to break through you. This is all I can do. Beatrice landed on her feet in the reconstructed hall, approached Kiria's corpse and wandered around, observing. I'm completely clueless when it comes to fighting on the human side. We need to find evidence, right? And then, what should I search for? The great Lady Beatrice is getting down on her knees and crawling around. And she's even indecently searching a corpse. That look suits you. Say whatever you wish. I cannot do any more than this. I care not how I am despised. However, I cannot throw Battler away as he's fighting for my honor. Even if I must crawl on the ground and search through dead flesh, I must answer to that responsibility. Bathed in the witch's sneers, Beato searched through Kiria's corpse. She fished through the pockets, taking what was inside out and laying it on the floor. Laid on the floor was a handkerchief, tissue, a key to her house, the stub of a boat ticket, a lighter, a cigarette butt, and a single 100-yen coin. There was no special suspicious object, although Beato was down on all fours and being sneered at, and that was all she could find. What's with that seedy looking trash? How do you think you can break my magic with that stuff? Worthless, worthless. Are you a moron? How can you be so lame, and right after you cut in between us, talking so tough? Pathetic, how embarrassing. If only you just give up and die. The witch fell over laughing, lambasting Beato. Beato hung her head, trying to withstand this shame. Milady, are you finished with your inspection? Indeed. I will not find any more than this. Can you make any counter from this evidence? If not, then the human side must resign. Obviously, you don't have any room to argue back. I am a witch. You cannot break through my magic. You're no longer anything but a former witch. A loser who isn't even allowed to take the name Beatrice anymore. Come on, pile up as much trash and rubbish as you like, and just try to break my magic. You can't, right? You can't, can you? And why is that? It's because I'm a witch. It's because you're just a loser without a name. Something should be here. I won't lose heart. I will not lose heart. No matter how much I am sneered at, Battler is fighting for my honor. So for the sake of his honor, I must not lose heart. As Beato held back tears at the words of humiliation she was being showered with, she tried to find if Kitty was holding something else, to find something that could save Battler from his plight, searching earnestly. However, nothing more came up. Damn it. Please. Ushiramiya Kirie, you must save your son from his plight. Please, after death, lend me power for his sake. However, Kirie's body did not answer. It was only natural that a corpse would remain silent. No dead person existed that would answer Beato, who had lost the endless magic.
It's pointless, pointless, pointless. Toying with the dead is a privilege only for witches. For you, who's neither a witch nor even a human, no one exists who will lend a hand. You'll be alone for all eternity. You've no witch or human allies, and no one will save you. If that's frustrating, why don't you cry? If only you just apologize, saying, "I'm so sorry, I'm so useless." Sorry, Battler. I couldn't help you at all. No, that's enough. Thanks, Beato. I won't waste your efforts. I don't need consoling. Just how could you possibly argue back with this pile of rubbish? Just how could you possibly strike back with this rubbish I scraped together while she sneered at me? In front of Beato, who was still crawling on all fours and hitting the pile of objects Kitty had left behind with her fist, Battler also crouched. And, after patting her on the shoulder in thanks, he moved that hand to the ground, picked up the cigarette butt, and held it up over his head. What are you trying to say with that trash? Kiryu-san doesn't smoke. But Kiryu also had a lighter on her. True, she didn't have an actual box of cigarettes, but at a glance, it naturally looked as though Kiryu had a smoking habit. Dad smoked, but Kiryu didn't. But she did walk around with just a lighter to light Dad's cigarettes. Huh, so what? If the husband smoked, then even if the wife didn't, it wouldn't be strange for her to be holding a cigarette. Maybe she just picked up the cigarette butt of her husband who had bad smoking manners. What are you trying to say? What does this have to do with my magic? Nothing at all. I'll say more. This is a different brand of cigarette than what Dad smokes. Sorry, Beato. Could you look in the pockets of Dad's corpse too? Indeed. You mean this? Checking the brand. The brand is different from the cigarette butt. The cigarette butt Kitty is holding is not of the same brand that Ruro smokes. And so what? Maybe Kitty is just a good girl who likes things to be clean, so she couldn't leave a fallen cigarette butt alone and picked it out? I wouldn't, though. Beato, sorry, but one more time, please. Uncle Hideyoshi's pockets. In this family, only Dad and Hideyoshi smoke cigarettes. It's here. Is this it? Beato found a cigarette box in Hideyoshi's pocket, took a single one out, and held it up. Checking the brand. We acknowledge that the cigarette butt is of the same brand that Hideyoshi smokes. And so what? How can you break my magic because you found Hideyoshi's cigarette butt in Kiryu's pocket? That's right. The cigarette butt is a message from Kiryu-san. Now, the cigarette butt itself is the reason that Kiryu-san left the guest house. Beato, thank you. If you hadn't found this, I would have given up here. Virgilia, reconstruct the situation. The guest house after it came to light that Aunt Rosa and Maria had been killed on the second twilight. Understood. Reconstructing now. After Rosa and Maria's deaths, the remaining survivors rechecked all of the doors and windows in the mansion. They constructed a barricade. They reconfirmed that their defenses were solid. There's nothing to be suspicious about at all. What are you trying to say? Why are you bringing up the second twilight when we're talking about the fourth twilight and after? Dad carried a portable cigarette butt holder with him. I'm finally starting to see why Kiryu-san went out of her way to put a cigarette butt in her own pocket. It was because that cigarette butt meant something. That cigarette butt was itself a message left by Kiryu-san for us. Then let's hear it. How do you plan to deny me with that single cigarette butt?
As we've heard, after the second twilight, an inspection was done of all the rooms in the guest house. At that time, Kirie-san found something that shouldn't exist in a place where it shouldn't be. Something that shouldn't exist? What do you mean by that? It's this cigarette butt. This was set in the ashtray of the guest room that Uncle Hideyoshi was in. What? What's wrong with there being a cigarette butt in an ashtray? Are you sure there isn't something wrong with your head? Aunt Ava hated smoking. There's no way there'd be a cigarette butt there while Aunt Ava was sick and sleeping. However, there was a cigarette butt in the ashtray. When she saw that, Kirie-san noticed immediately. Uncle Hideyoshi was lying. She realized that Aunt Ava hadn't really been sleeping, and that she'd snuck out of the room. Repeat it. This cigarette butt was crushed out in the ashtray of the room where Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi were resting. I refuse. I finally got it. Thank you, Beato. Was I of some use? Yeah, you were. Tear it. We'll tear the mask off of the fake witch. From that cigarette butt, Kirie realized that Hideyoshi was creating an alibi for Ava's sake. Hideyoshi had been tasked with watching over the room to create an alibi, and during that time, he was unable to withstand the tension and smoked. Then, Kirie had confessed that to Rudolph. She confessed that there was a good chance Ava was the culprit, and Hideyoshi was an accomplice. Next, Kirie-san proposed that they go to get food. She then asked Uncle Hideyoshi to lend a hand. This could only mean one thing. Kirie-san planned to isolate Uncle Hideyoshi and question him about the truth. Your Hempel's Raven is valid. Unless the witch side counters this move, the existence of the magic that supposedly controlled Kirie has been denied. What did you say? I deny it. Anyway, I deny it. It wasn't me. No. It wasn't Ushinomiya Ava. Ava was sleeping in her room. Then try saying it. Yeah, you can't say it. You can't say it this time either. Repeat it. At that time, Ushinomiya Ava did not take a step outside her room. What the hell is that? I'm the one who was attacking, right? Why am I the one being attacked now? When did offense and defense get reversed? I'm the one questioning you, right? The witch, me, so why? Again, repeat it. Ushinomiya Ava did not leave the room. There's no way you can say it. It's checkmate. Does the witch side have a move in response? There cannot be one. There is no truth that can be accepted from a false witch dressed up with truths and falsehoods. You aren't qualified to call yourself a real witch. You aren't the Golden Witch. You're a human. Ushinomiya Ava. The witch howled. Her entire body was burned with a tremendous heat that denied her own magic and existence, and she let out a howl like a dragon. Her body flickered repeatedly, flashing as though Ava's figure and the witch's figure overlapped. However, that yell was sucked into the flicker, making it return to the original form of the cruel witch.
Sure. If you want to call me Ushinomiya Eva, then go ahead and do that. That's right. I actually can't repulse all moves related to Ushinomiya Eva being the culprit. I may have been dragged down from the position of Golden Witch, and you might call me Ushinomiya Eva now. But you know what? That by itself doesn't mean that witches and magic have been denied. I'll teach you starting now. I'll teach you that I am not Ushinomiya Eva, nor a human, but a real witch. Take a look at this red truth. When the witch clapped her hands, time advanced in the world of the game board. Battler and Eva dashed to the front of the parlor, calling out Jessica's name. They were searching for Jessica because they had gone to the servant room, found Nanjo's corpse, and didn't know where Jessica was. So, what's your point? What are you trying to say? You couldn't be. Oh no. Beato went pale. In other words, the move the evil witch was about to make was bad enough to make even Beato go pale. This time, I'll give you a fatal move that you won't be able to talk yourself out of. No, I'll make this move against all humans who support you. Listen carefully to my move. Stop it, that move is... Beato, stay back. I'll take it. Come on, you fake witch. After Jessica was injured, Eva was constantly under Battler's supervision. Battler is neither the culprit nor an accomplice. By this, we can establish a perfect alibi for Eva. What? I'll seal you, and humans as well, in a red barrier that most certainly cannot be escaped from. Farewell, lowly humans. Sleep for all eternity in an absolute closed room of magic with no exits. Come on, listen carefully. Listen to the red truth. There are no more than 18 humans on this island. Throw away your foolish thoughts of mysterious people hiding and committing crimes. But if I say it that way, you might also suspect animal culprits. I couldn't stand to hear some irrational theory about how an orangutan trained to commit murder wouldn't count as a human. So we'll change it like this. No life forms other than humans have any connection to this game. That's how it is. Next, I'll explain the situation of all 18 people who exist on this island. Kinzo is dead. Kraus is dead. Natsuhi is dead. Hideyoshi is dead. George is dead. Rudolph is dead. Kiria is dead. Rosa is dead. Maria is dead. Genji is dead. Shannon is dead. Kano is dead. Goda is dead. Kumasawa is dead. Nanjo is dead. Those 15 are all dead. And Battler is alive. Eva is alive. Jessica is alive. And that's everyone. All 18 of them. Which means that when the last victim, Nanjo, died, only 3 people, Battler, Eva, and Jessica, were alive, right? What did you say? Damn it, you don't mean... Eva was with you the whole time, so committing a crime was impossible for her. Of course, Battler-kun isn't the culprit. He wasn't forging an alibi for her, and he took the possibility that she was the culprit into account, watching over her actions carefully. No chance existed for her to do anything suspicious. In short, at the time of the crime, only Nanjo and Jessica were in the servant room. And I know what you're thinking. Your next move will be this, right? There's also a chance that Jessica is the culprit. But too bad, I'll slice it up in red before you try. Ushinomiya Jessica has not committed murder. She was not involved with Nanjo's murder. Her eyes were completely covered. It would be impossible for her to carry out a murder like that. And here's a bonus. Neither Eva nor Battler killed Nanjo, nor were they involved. Wait a second. That doesn't make sense.
There are only 3 humans and then a murder occurs, and none of those 3 were involved? That's insane.
I'll state it clearly. The culprit who killed Nanjo was neither Battler, nor Eva, nor Jessica. In other words, it wasn't one of the survivors. And get it?
No, that's right. What about multiple personalities? Just like how you were originally another personality of Aunt Ava's. Let's say Jessica had another witch-like personality, which took the name of someone other than Jessica and killed Dr. Nanjo.
Moron. I've already said it in red. Jessica's eyes were completely covered and murder was impossible for her. No matter what kind of personality she was possessed by, murder could not be carried out with her body. I wonder if you'll be satisfied if I say it this way. No actions caused by Jessica's body had any relation to or influence on the murder of Nanjo. This also applies to Battler and Eva. In other words, no matter how much you try to struggle and interpret it, neither Jessica nor Battler nor Eva is the culprit who killed Nanjo.
You've gotta be kidding me. I mean, everyone else is definitely dead, right? Then all that's left is the Dr. Nanjo suicide theory, right? And the trap theory. The culprit was already dead, but a trap that they had already prepared went off.
Nanjo's death was a homicide. Of course, it was with a direct method of murder, not a trap. A weapon was readied, and he was killed with it from point-blank range in front of him. The culprit appeared openly before Nanjo's eyes, and as they both looked at each other's faces, the culprit killed him.
But wait. There are only 3 survivors. You said in red that everyone else is dead. You basically confirmed the life or death status of all 18 people. Furthermore, the existence of a 19th person has already been denied in red. In other words, no one could exist except the 3 survivors. And yet a 4th person other than those 3 appeared before Dr. Nanjo. How could a person other than us appear and murder Dr. Nanjo when no 19th person exists? Insane. You're lying. You're lying with the red.
The red only tells the truth. Isn't doubting that the same as betraying the honor of that witch who's behind you, shriveling up in fear of me and hiding behind your back?
Damn it.
Right now, I'll state it clearly. The one who appeared in front of Nanjo was me, a witch. The golden witch who can't be explained away with the 18 humans.
Virgilia, none of it. Isn't there a contradiction in this situation? Is she really telling the truth with red? Yes, her red truth is valid.
What an elaborate and precise cornering.
How should I make a move against her? Virgilia, aren't there any moves? I cannot think of anything. And you, Ronove. My apologies. However, in these last 1,000 years, I have never seen such an elaborately beautiful game board layout.
I hate to admit it, but it's beautiful. What a beautiful checkmate made in red.
The witch's teacher and the demon butler were both stunned, and an expression of ecstasy rose to their faces. Forget surrendering. They were impressed at this perfect checkmate, which simply had to be admired. When people accept defeat from the bottom of their hearts, it gives rise to neither regrets nor humiliation. Nothing is born except feelings of respect. I no longer knew what was what anymore. There are absolutely no weak points in her red. She had said in red that all of 15 people had died. She had said in red that no people existed other than the 18. In other words, no more than 3 people, me, Jessica, and Aunt Ava, existed. And even though none of these 3 people were the culprit, Dr. Nanjo was killed. And without a doubt, Dr. Nanjo's death was a homicide. He was murdered by that person, openly from in front of him. She's saying that that person is a witch. The culprit who killed Nanjo was not an animal or anything of the sort. That has already been dealt with and read, right? Everything other than humans has been completely removed from consideration. Even things like robots don't work. Absolutely no factors other than humans participated in this game board. Therefore, I can also say this. The one who killed Nanjo was definitely a human. A human, with their feet on the ground, held up a weapon and killed him with it, right before his eyes. However, the human may have been able to use magic. In other words, it was a witch. In other words, it was me. The Golden Witch, Beatrice. Even as Battler ground his teeth, his knees hit the floor with a thunk. His soul still refused to surrender. However, his knees had already started to accept surrender. The red webbing is so fucking cool. This is a great scene in general, I love it. Though it's also, like, upsetting. Especially if you've been theorizing and stuff. So I'm just gonna grab some water real quick. Enjoy the troll face. Yeah, that whole scene it probably kills so many theories, it's amazing. I mean, I kind of was there when this, I was there on the internet when this came out, and people were like, freaking out. Also for some reason that I will elaborate on, because those could be spoilers. Because there's one theory floating around that actually still kind of fit into this a little bit, and people were very jazzed about it. But I won't say any more than that. But yeah, it's like a wall of red crushing all the theories. It's so good. I don't like EVA-Beatrice, but man is she iconic. That's the only word for it. Okay, should be good to go.
Oh, did you kneel? That's right, you're already starting to understand. The Golden Witch does exist. And that Golden Witch, Beatrice, is me. Come on, praise me. Now, praise the resurrection of a true witch. Now, praise the resurrection of the Golden Witch, Beatrice. On the 9th twilight, the witch shall revive, and none shall be left alive.
Damn it. I don't understand. After being so thoroughly immobilized by the red, I don't have a clue anymore. Battler, don't lose heart. You and I promised that we would fight each other again, right? Will you surrender here? Will you disappear in a place like this before fighting with me again? I don't want to break that promise. However, I can't think of any move to deny her. In the first place, this isn't even a puzzle. Nothing exists outside the suspects, and all of the suspects are innocent. I was told that they were innocent in red, right? And also that it was a real homicide and that the culprit was human and that they did appear before Dr. Nanjo's eyes and killed him. I give up. There's nothing I can do. Please, Battler, don't give up. Don't lose heart. If you stop thinking, it automatically becomes your loss. I'm begging you, don't lose heart. I'm also cheering you on, so don't lose. I can't think of anything anymore. I find myself thinking she's gotta be a witch who must have done it with magic, which makes all thinking pointless. It's useless. My head hurts. My brain's tired. I'm starting to think that thinking is pointless, so I should just stop. Battler, listen. In the game of chess, both sides do all they can to make the other lose, so a single game takes a long period of time. However, if one side throws away victory from the beginning and makes moves harmful to themselves, the game can end in the blink of an eye. That is called a fool's mate. A fool's mate is, simply put, a strange way of playing chess in which the fastest methods of losing are considered. Opening the area in front of your own king and inviting the opponent's queen in. Even though the average game time in chess is several hours, the game can be resolved in a scant 4 moves. In other words, if both sides try to win in a fight, they are compelled to take a painfully long period of time. But if one side decides to lose, the game can be ended far too easily at any time. When the human side stops thinking, it hands the problem before its eyes over to the witch, and even an apple falling from a tree can be immediately resolved as the work of magic. It is the same for the witch's side. Witches use the red truth. By using that, they can explain the true form of magic with humans, and then immediately lose. You don't have to tell me that. You're telling me to not stop thinking, right? However, how should I counterattack that person's perfect bright red move? For me, for humans, it's no longer possible. Is it impossible? Is it really impossible for you, Battler? Please, don't lose heart. Sorry. I've reached my limit. Battler scratched at the floor, crying heavily. Beato watched that with a distressed face. Then she stood up and spoke to the witch. I will make a move as a counter to yours. Huh? I wonder just how you plan to cut up this perfect checkmate. How can this checkmate, one totally impossible for humans to break, be defeated by the likes of you? Beatrice, you don't mean to... Indeed. If a human cannot make a move, I will assault you with a move I can use precisely because I am a witch. A move you can use because you're a witch? What are you planning to do? I will use the red to deny witches. Beatrice! Milady. The teacher and the butler were both startled. I also immediately understood what it meant. To use the red that only witches could use. To use the red to deny witches. It was like using her own sword to slit her own throat. What? Hey, what are you saying? Deny witches with red? Quit talking like an idiot. If you do that, you won't get away unscathed either. You are not a witch. And I am not a witch either. The road to becoming a true witch is difficult, and I have much, much further to go. Very well then. Right here, right now, there have never been any witches in the first place. I will strip this deception away myself. Aren't both of us real, obvious witches? Being able to use red is itself proof of witches. I don't know what the definition of a witch is to you, but if you think that you alone will be able to get away unscathed, then how could it make such a mistake? I care not. What did you say? I never did manage to become a witch. I've done nothing more than finally begin walking down the road to becoming a true witch. If what I am right now is a witch, then I'm a false witch like you, one who is merely drunk on power. Rather than existing in that shabby form, I shall erase this form of mine along with you, without any regrets. Are you insane? Stop it. I still want to be a witch. I hate being human. Witch-sama, please return to your seat. Please, receive the human side's counter from your seat. What are you doing? Let go of me. Don't let that woman use the red. Make her stop. Let go. As the witch stood from her seat and tried to spring upon Beato, Ronove pressed down on both of her shoulders, forcing her back into her seat. And even after that, he didn't remove his hands from those shoulders. Denying witches was the same thing as denying magic. That included demons such as the Ronove. However, instead of running away, Ronove chose to act as the facilitator for the game, and to carry out that duty for his master's sake. Beatrice, you have no regrets, right? That's my line. Sorry, teacher. Even though you taught me so much about fun magic and magic that brings happiness, I wasn't able to use it well at all. So I'll study from square one. And start over again. I am truly sorry that you had to suffer for your stupid disciple's misconduct. I had a good disciple in the very end. Go, do what you believe in. I don't have a clue what you guys are talking about. But I do understand one thing. And I can say this. Beato, I don't know what you're trying to do, but stop trying to do it. You have no moves, but I have one. If we let that move get away, she will be revived as a witch in the truest sense, and this time, she will control the whole island. All nightmares will be hers to do with as she pleases. And this island will fall into the deepest hell of the evil witch's repeating delusions for all eternity. Can you permit that? Don't you care if your dear relatives are toyed with for all eternity in that witch's nightmare? Still, you shouldn't have to sacrifice yourself. This is a game between me and her. You shouldn't have to make your move and sacrifice yourself. I'll think of something. I'll surely think of a miraculous move. So don't rush into it. Damn it. I'll definitely think of one, so don't rush into it. This game is cruel. The time limit for your consideration has already run out. I am now the only one who can do it. Calm yourself, battler. I'll defeat her. I'll defeat that cruel witch with my own hands. Wait, Beato. Stop it, quit it. There's absolutely no need for you to sacrifice yourself. Weren't you fighting to deny me? What a strange person. Let that child do as she likes. And please, watch her until the end. But... Battler, there's only one thing I ask. Would you cover your ears? My ears? Why? Starting now, I will deny witches in red. I will slice up the game board that she has laid out with her red. By doing that, I will probably lose my form as a witch as well. If you also hear the red truth I speak, you will understand my true form. If you alone cover your ears, that truth will not change at all. However, even so, I want you alone to cover your ears. I at least want to be a witch in your eyes. Please. Beatrice-sama, there are no problems on the witch side. Please, your move. Let go! I won't let you get away with this either, okay? She's insane. Do you plan on dying and taking us with you? Stop it! Don't deny it! Stop it! How unsightly for a golden witch. Okay, are you ready? I will remove your check in Battler's stead. What happened on the chessboard where 15 died and only 3 remained? Starting now, I will expose it in red. With that red truth, I will pierce and kill both fake witches. Beato turned around and smiled at Battler. Most likely, no one would believe that the witch who had gone to the limits of cruelty would try to leave a smile as the last expression she showed Battler. And that smile signified her last wish, that she wanted him to cover his ears. Denying witches in red was the same as knowing her shabby form. Battler put both of his hands against his ears to protect her final bit of honor as a witch. He put his hands against his ears, rejecting the truth. And he howled, so that not even a bit of what she was saying would slip into his ears. After that was my phone just went well, I'm gonna cut that out of the VOD, that breaks the tension. After that was a world where Battler could hear nothing. Beato was saying something in red. Even the evil witch covered her ears at those bitter contents. That was the red truth. Words of power. Words that denied her own existence. Unique words that only witches could use, which denied witches. Beato spoke. With the red truth, she cut up the bright red game board that the witch had released. She explained difficult problems that could not be solved by humans, with moves that could only be solved by witches, and began cornering the witch. The truth that Battler was not permitted to hear. If Battler had broken his promise and sneakily eavesdropped, in an instant, Battler would probably have been able to become the victor in this game with Beato. He would probably have understood all the riddles on the island, all of the magic and tricks, closed rooms, spells, curses, legends, and this entire tale of anger and sadness. However, Battler would only learn what that was when he reached the truth by himself. Yes, from the beginning, Beatrice had wished that Battler would reach that truth by himself. It was something one shouldn't reach by being told it. It was a truth that Battler would have to drag himself to by his own power. A brilliant light gathered with Beato and the evil witch at the center, and grew gradually stronger. It was the power of truth. Its heat and brilliance, like the sun, shone all the falsehoods that hid in the darkness, trying to deceive, and burnt them to nothing. Why? Why can you die? Why can you throw away your life when you have such incredible power? You who hold the power to control gold, magic, and everything at will. Why can you so readily throw that away? Learn that even with a mountain of gold, even with magic to split the sea, there are some things you can never obtain. Come, show yourself. Show your true form, Ushinomiya Eva. When the sun exploded and blew everything away, Eva could be seen there holding a gun. You were the culprit. on Eva. Took you long enough to notice, Battler-kun? Without any hesitation or mercy, Eva raised her gun and pulled the trigger. As an explosive sound rang out, Battler's heart was shot through, and he fell to the floor. After going into convulsions for a short time, with blood dripping from his mouth, Battler died. But in his last moments, he realized without a doubt that she was a murderer, and not just for killing him. There have been many murders, and I don't have a clue how they were carried out. However, while my ears were covered, Beato exposed all of them with the red, blasting away all magic. In other words, even though I didn't understand it, was that nothing more or less than proof that magic can all be explained with humans? Beato made me cover my ears, so I myself don't know the whole truth. However, now that it's been denied and read, I can see one fact which is extremely unfair for us, that it is possible to deny all magic. So in other words, no, I must not think of that. If I do, then the time I spent covering my ears would be made pointless. If I'm going to regret, I can only regret my own actions. If, at that time, I thought of some move to spin things around and counter the witch's final move, there would have been no need for Beato to sacrifice herself. It was my own worthlessness that brought about this conclusion. Even though it was a pitch-black world where nothing could be seen, for some reason I felt Beato's presence right next to me. So I tried calling out to her. You can exchange words with someone whether they're a human or a witch. So even in a world where witches have been denied, I should be allowed to talk to her. Beato. Battler, is it? It is done. I did it. Yeah. I didn't hear it, but I watched you until the very end. I definitely saw you boldly stand up to that evil witch. With this, I'm no longer a witch. But I will definitely become a witch again. And then, I will make it so that I can be called the Golden Witch again, and once again, return. So that I can be accepted as your opponent. No, you were a witch. Huh? I saw it. When you took that evil witch and blew her away with that awesome magic, exposing her true form. I saw it with my own eyes. That wasn't magic. But the red. No, it was magic. You were definitely the Golden Witch. Even if you deny it yourself, I'll acknowledge it. You are definitely the Golden Witch. When Battler said those words, in the world that had been dark, there was suddenly a single grain. A small grain of gold, like a wheat seed, shone brightly. And even though it was small, it had a strong gold-colored sparkle. Then it shone on the two of them, sitting with their backs together, so they each became aware of their own form. They did not exist only as consciousness. They became aware that they had bodies and definitely existed. No, perhaps we should say that they had each been given an existence called a body. When Battler looked at his own form, he wasn't that surprised. But when Beato looked at her own form, she was a little startled. From Battler's perspective, she looked just like normal. But for a short while, she was surprised by that form. What is going on? The sparkle from that grain of light is slowly getting stronger. That grain of wheat was no longer simply gold-colored, but was like the light of the sun. Then it softly began to approach Beato's chest. When that grain of the sun was sucked inside her chest, the world was wrapped in a deep blue sky, and then a deep blue ocean was spread out below them. An island rose up, trees sprouted and created a forest, walls surrounded us, and a ceiling swallowed us. And was adorned with more and more things, made to be like the hall of the Ushiromiya mansion. In the middle of the fantastical hall where many gold butterflies beat their golden wings. That word wasn't in there. Many tables were set up with white tablecloths like it was a party, and beautiful cooking and fruits were set out. And over there were a great many shapes. It was everyone talking together and smiling. Everyone. There was Dad and Kirie-san, Uncle Kraus, Aunt Natsuhi, and Aunt Rosa, and of course even Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi. George Aniki, Jessica, Maria, wait, even Shannon-chan, Kano-kun, and Gora-san and Kumasawa-san are here. Everyone was at the party, clapping their hands and celebrating our return. Why? Even though everyone was dead, why are they alive? In the Golden Land, the souls of all the dead can be revived. Welcome back, Beatrice. And welcome back, Battler-kun. Welcome to the Golden Land. I made it. I made it. To the door of the Golden Land? Yes. Milady, you finally managed to invite everyone here. Welcome, Battler-sama, to the Golden Land. Battler, so you finally made it this far. Grandfather, where in the world am I? My blood, which is incompatible with magic, runs most deeply in your veins. Therefore, you were the only one who could not reach the Golden Land, and Beatrice has been searching for you this whole time. She tried everything to bring you here. What did you say? Battler-sama, if you would take your seat. Tonight's dinner is my very best work. If you would, please relish it.
You should be honored. Normally I would have eaten all of it, but I left you some out of gratitude.
7 steaks, Nechams.
In the Golden Land, all of those with minds are equal. Here there is no distinction between us furniture, humans, and witches. Battler-sama, we were waiting for you. Welcome to the Golden Land.
Shannon-chan, George Aniki. I still feel like this might be a dream. We should have died. But I'm alive. And everyone is here and happy. I can't believe it. That's right. This place must be a dream world. So it must be a dream that George is acting so friendly with a maid girl. Could you give it a rest, Ava? For now, you gotta stay quiet and bless the 2 young'uns. The Golden Land is a city of bliss. We should never quarrel here.
Here, any people are free to love each other. No one needs to hesitate over it. Jessica-chan, Kanon-kun, you look so wonderful. I'm jealous.
Hey, Butler. I'm a little, Butler-sama, welcome. And welcome home. Jessica was probably embarrassed because she was holding hands with Kanon-kun. Kanon-kun wants to act humbly, like a servant, and bow, but since neither of them could let go of the other's hand, he couldn't do it so well, and the whole scene looks fairly comical. With a servant child? You can't! Our Jessica cannot do such a thing! It's hardly a big deal, correct? Literally choose the person she likes. She can't. Jessica. You can't either, George. As Aunt Natsuhi and Aunt Eva hugged each other, they cried tears of regret for their adorable children, even though they had always been at odds. It was a very bizarre scene.
It isn't really a problem, right? It doesn't matter who likes who.
That's right. It's proof that a parent's too attached to their child. Badler, no matter what kind of woman you bring home, I'll give her a warm welcome, okay?
Don't you dare introduce her to this man, okay? He'll get his hand on her immediately. They'll run off together right away. What? Badler, you finally came here.
Maria, from the very beginning, you knew we'd be coming here?
Ew. That's why I wasn't scared at all. Everyone was being a coward and trembling. It was funny.
What the hell? Even though I thought you were the most screwed up, you actually knew the truth from the beginning.
How rude. I simply cannot forgive you for speaking of Lady Maria in that way. For relating fire curve, attack preparations ready. Lady Maria, we can attack at any time. Ow.
Be quiet. You are in the presence of Beatrice-sama. Come now, no need to be so stiff. Let's be considerate of their desire to joke around and have fun. More importantly, why don't we begin preparing for the toast? Yes, preparations for my excellent mackerel cooking are complete. I can serve it at any time.
Hey, you people, work a little more like furniture. No, I'm gonna stuff myself some more. Come on, let's work. Don't keep the guests waiting. Let's work studiously and attend to them. Don't let the guests do anything. Make them lazy, make them slothful, fatten them like pigs.
Beatrice, Badler-kun, this way. Grandfather and Virgili were standing on the landing at the top of the staircase, beckoning to us. Beato and I turned our heads to see what was going on, then climbed the stairs together. From the hall, it looked like a very high stage. A small table had been set up there, as well as a piece of parchment and an old-fashioned quill pen. I saw that strange magical characters in Japanese were written side by side, and below it, many names were written. There were 17 of them. Grandfather was the first, and everyone's names had been signed all over it. The people who arrived at the Golden Land probably signed this one after another. Battler, now that you are here, everyone is gathered. Listen carefully. The Golden Land is not a world supported by the power of magic alone. The cooperation and approval of all humans who receive happiness here is required. For that sake, we must gather the signatures of everyone here. Last time, the door to the Golden Land was finally opened, but you refused to sign. Although you probably don't remember it. Because you refused to sign, this world was once again sealed in darkness. Just hearing it like that, it kind of sounds like I'm the only stubborn one. that I've been a bother to everyone in various ways. That's because your stubbornness is the real deal. It seems you received more than just blood from Kinzo. Beato laughed amiably. I should have felt like she was making fun of me, but without thinking, I went along with her, laughing and smiling. Magic is a miracle. Miracles cannot be made complete unless everyone believes. And when you believed in the end, this miracle, the Golden Land, was completed. Looks like I've been a real pain. So what should I do? First, sign here. Then Beatrice, you sign here. Quill pens are pretty hard to use, huh? Whoa, it shot. You klutz. Shooting ink is a bad omen. Can't you at least write your name quickly? Your pen's wriggling all over the place like a worm. You should talk. Don't write it in katakana. Beatrice is a stylish name, so write it in cursive. You're making the quill on your name cry. Shut up. In school, didn't they tell you not to use cursive on tests? Hey, this is a solemn ceremony. Be silent. Very well. We have gathered the 2 signatures, as well as the form for the covenant. Both of you, your oath, please. We'll start with Beatrice. Put your hand on the covenant and take the oath. As a good witch, Beatrice swears to continue her studies from this point forth to bring happiness to the people. Say it. Indeed. It's a little embarrassing. As a good witch, Beatrice swears to continue her studies from this point forth to bring happiness to the people. Will that do? Acceptable. Battler is next. In the same way, Battler-kun, put your hand on the covenant and take the oath. As a member of the Golden Land, Ushiromiya Battler swears to serve for the sake of his own happiness and that of his neighbor. As a member of the Golden Land, Ushiromiya Battler swears to serve for the sake of his own happiness and that of his neighbor. I'm embarrassed too. Listen, everyone. Here and now, we have gathered the oaths of all 18 humans who accept the Golden Land. When Kinzo proclaimed that, everyone applauded at once, praising us. Since I had been the only stubborn one and had just been a pain, I felt a little bad about being the most celebrated one. And with that, in accordance with the ancient rites, we ask Battler-kun, the last to make the oath, to sign the invitation to the Golden Land. This is something that invites the Golden Witch Beatrice to the Golden Land. The Golden Land welcomes the Golden Witch through a consensus of those who have acknowledged it, and becomes complete. Battler, I will read it out loud. Listen carefully. The 18 of us accept Beatrice as the Golden Witch and welcome her to the Golden Land. What's going on with you? You won't be invited unless I send an invitation? That doesn't seem to be the ceremony. It just feels stiff even to me. Why did we end it quickly? I've been so hungry for a while now. Come to think of it, I've only been picking at canned food and haven't eaten anything good. Let's quickly finish the signing. What's this? I acknowledge you as a witch. Huh? That's pretty simple. Damn your grandfather, exaggerating it so much. Come on, quickly. Sign, right there. Quickly, sign. With slightly weird and uncomfortable smiles, the 2 of them started demanding that I sign. At that time, an incredible sound like that of a glass window breaking reverberated through the hall, and the bustling tumult faded back into complete silence. I dropped the quill pen and turned around, trying to see what had happened. When I did, where had she come from? A human who clearly hadn't been there a short while ago was in the very center of the hall, looking up at us. Who's that? A girl? She's probably about the same age as Jessica and me, but I didn't know that face. None of the other people here knew that face either. Who are you? Who is this? Where did you come from? Those without invitations are not needed at my party. Servants, kick her out. As you command. Surround her. The 7 Sisters of Purgatory surrounded her from 7 directions, taking out magic blades that drew purple curves and blocking her. From out of nowhere, shuffling goat-head servants appeared in great numbers, surrounding that girl. On top of that, the Giester sisters stood in front of Beato like a wall, readying a golden bow and pulling back the bowstring. But the girl didn't move at all. On the contrary, she was still staring at us on the landing, as though she didn't mind at all. Who was she looking at? Beato? Grandfather? Could it be me? Yes. The girl was staring straight into my eyes, glaring. Then, after our eyes met perfectly, she yelled. You mustn't sign that! Are you going to accept your own defeat? Don't be tricked by the witch. Huh? By the witch? Huh? At that time, something incredibly strong lifted me by the nape of my neck. What's going on? And after being made to turn around behind me, I saw Virgilia with an eerie smile on her face and the muscular forms of goat monsters. A goat monster that looked about 2 meters tall was grabbing me with an arm as thick as a log. There's no need to listen to an uninvited guest. Come, offer your signature as well, on this written oath. Ushinomiya Battler acknowledges the existence of witches. Come now, sign the written oath. Ow. Damn it, let go. As the goat monsters held me down with the power of a vise, they forced me to grab the quill pen. I couldn't even touch the floor with my feet, much less resist. Battler, why are you resisting? Weren't you just about to sign willingly? Don't change your mind now after all that, okay? Didn't you think for an instant that it might be okay to acknowledge witches? You thought that, right? I was tricked. That's insane. Beato isn't that kind of... Sorry, Battler. I am that kind of person. It's useless now. It looks like sentimental sob stories don't suit me. Teacher, I'm counting on you to use all your strength. That was such a plain role to play and I got so bored. I don't know who you are, girl. But I'll beat you to death, mash you and crush you until the threads start trailing, okay? I'll make you regret being born a woman. As Beato waved her gold pipe, the massive chandelier hanging in the hall was electrocuted, and from that, a terrible purple thunderbolt fell. It should have been a direct hit on the girl right below it, turning her to ash. However, not a single hair was singed. Oh, so your sudden appearance here wasn't just a fluke. Tell me, state your name. I don't have any name to give you. More importantly,
You idiot. How long are you going to be tricked? You softy. Figure it out already. This is all the witch's trap.
Those words were aimed at me. This is all the witch's trap, she says. That can't be. Beata reformed and swore to become a good witch. Beata, all this about traps, it's a lie, right? Please, tell me it's a lie. Sorry, Battler. It was pretty fun. Sure, I just did what teacher told me, but look how great it turned out. Apparently, if you start out all hostile and needlessly brutal, then turn incompetent and soft at just the right moment, you can spark a huge bump on your affection meter, right? I've heard villains who start all lovey-dovey and then freak the shit out are all the rage these days, right? Even I've studied a bunch of those manga, anime, and galge that have been so popular lately, you see? And for you, just as expected, it was a tears please, and you're down. Idiot, what a truly simple person. I'll call this the North Wind and the Sun strategy. That's not... Damn you. You bastard. How could you trick me? Yes, that expression suits you the most. That caring expression of yours really doesn't suit me after all. It made my back itch and I was frantically trying not to let it get to me. Too bad. Witches never reform. You take care of the signature, teacher. This uninvited guest is my prey. Come, you can no longer refuse to sign. Come on, look. Sign it and offer your body, your mind, and your soul. When Virgilia lifted her chin as a signal, the goat monsters with an even more vise-like power forced my arm to approach the parchment. Ow. These guys are trying to make me sign even if it breaks my arm. Then, a bright red light burst open with me at the center, knocking the witches and the goat monsters away. Did that girl save me? But who in the world is that? I don't have a clue. How long do you keep playing in a place like this? Give it a rest. I'm jealous of you. I'm glad you saved me, but that's a pretty cruel way to say it. Sorry, but who are you? Witch of Rokkenjima. Give him back. Who would do that, you fool? Battler is my toy. My most favorite toy in the world. I won't get tired of him. I won't throw him away. I won't hand him over to anyone. Even Battler is enjoying this to the fullest. Together with me, he's having so much fun playing. No matter who you are, I won't let you get in the way. Yeah, it looks like you're having a lot of fun. Makes me so jealous it ticks me off. Here you are in a place like this, guffawing and having a loud, noisy time with everyone. With all these beautiful witches around to pamper you, you must be having so much fun that you don't even want to go back. Are you talking to me? Wait, you've got the wrong idea. This is a pain for me too. What do you mean fun? You don't know what I've been through. What you've been through? You had fun living with Mom and Dad? You played around with all of the cousins? And you get to play with these wacky witches for all eternity? Don't you recognize the happiness you have? Can't you see how jealous I am of you all? So much that I wish I could join in too. I'm sorry, but I'll have to turn you down there. I'm satisfied with the toy I have. A rude toy like you is not fitting for my toy box. Yes, I understand. Who would ever play with someone like you? But I will thank you just a little for letting me meet everyone like this. Are you? You couldn't be. I see, is that it? Yes, I understand. I know who you are. I see. So you are the piece Lady Burncastle threw in. How amusing. Yeah, she's genre savvy. She's been doing the homework. Why don't I formally invite you to my party? I'll welcome you fully. Along with Battler, I will play nicely, break you, kill you, crush you, turn you to ash, mix you with a bread dough, and bake you until you're fluffy. It's useless. It's all useless. You can't do that. On the Rokonjima of 1986, I'll expose everything that happened to the light of day. I'll show you that before the truth, you're like an icicle scared of the coming spring. Prepare yourself, Golden Witch. Beatrice. That was a lot of yelling at the end. At least this is a much slower end roll than the other one. I didn't realize. Or I would have read the whole thing. Oh yeah. Episode 4 is gonna be amazing. Also, I think this is the first time in the whole series that we see Returned Alive in the end roll. Which is neat. Also, I think it's possible that when I put the mod in, this end roll didn't update because it looks super different from the others. I kind of like the old ones better. But I'm not entirely sure. Actually, the whole format's different, so who knows? I could look it up, but I probably won't. Because is there a chapter select? Yeah, there is. Maybe I could look it up. There's also a mosquito in my room, and I'm very allergic. So that's gonna be fun. All of the goats. Here's our like formal result. There we go. And so the Golden Land once again crumbled into the darkness. However, Victor finally appeared in the game of the Golden Witch. This Victor is the new Golden Witch, EVA-Beatrice. It was she who solved the riddle of the gold before it was up. It was not quicker to read, I was wrong. The 17 all died when the seagulls cried. There was but one survivor. That was actually harder to read than the other ones. And that wraps up the main portion of this arc. But there are 2 more sections. However, we're gonna do those next week. Because my voice is dying and it's late. And I think what I'll try to do is prepare so that we can start 4 off next week. because I believe that the next 2 bits are quite short. So we're gonna finish 3 up and then immediately launch into 4. And I'm very hyped for that. So it's gonna be 10 episodes in the end. That's a lot. Damn. Yeah. Let me turn off the seagulls. And turn on some music. Because yes, it is absolutely time for bed. And time for chasing some mosquitoes around. But I'm gonna do that in my own time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following the series up until now, if you have been, or even if you're just catching parts of it. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you again next week, hopefully. It's gonna be a really good one. If I recall correctly, it's been a while. The initial part of 4 is... you have to see it to believe. That blew my mind the first time I read it. So, it's gonna be good. I promise. But yes, time for bed. I hope you have a good night, or a day, whichever time it is for you right now. Have a good one, and see you next time. Bye-bye.